Welcome to the Expats in Dubai show with me, Amber Waheed. Today, I'm sitting down with 4 women who have built serious legal careers here in Dubai, all in different ways and all with very different stories behind the titles. Joining me are Fiona Robertson, General Counsel at OSN, Chowdhry, partner at Pinsent Masons, Chrissie Wolfe, partner at Nexa, and Charlotte Songwiqi, lawyer from Tamimi. So whether you're thinking about law, already in the profession, or simply curious about the reality behind the titles, stay with us, not for theory, but for lived experience. Thank you all for being here and for taking time out to come here and experience downtown traffic. I'm going to open with a question for everyone. So we did a survey and we asked people, when you are thinking of a lawyer, what is the picture that comes to mind? And the answers were strikingly similar. So the common consensus was a tall, slim man in a dark suit. So my question to you, does it surprise you that, to the layman, that this is the dominant image of a lawyer today? And is it fair that the legal industry is still widely thinking that this is a male-dominated industry?
I think that's a really good question. It doesn't surprise me, I don't think, that a lay person would think of a probably white male. That doesn't surprise me.
Old. You missed old in the description. Yeah. Old white man.
Yeah, I think that doesn't surprise me at all.
Look, I think there's absolutely no surprise that most people think of your pale style male. I think but I think the media representation of that hasn't changed. I think the industry has changed, and I think that women we're 48% of the global workforce is women now. I think it's around about. So it's definitely changed. The leadership in law firms in particular, which is where we hear the voices the most, I don't think that has changed yet, but I think we're creeping up on it. I think the other thing that is quite interesting is what does a lawyer look like? Okay, male to a lot of people, but they also don't expect them to look like we look, like normal women. I think we're expected to wear a nice Peter Pan collar and some pearls and a blue straight skirt, and people always say to me, "You don't look like a lawyer." And I'm just like, "What does a lawyer look like?
What does a lawyer look like?
What am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to do?"
I don't think the media perception of lawyers really helps us, because we have on one end suits, and I think my husband, as an example, still to this day thinks that I read contracts and argue with people in boardrooms until 1 a.m, which is partly true. But other than suits, we have Legally Blonde, Elle Woods in pink, perceived as the blonde bimbo.
In court.
Love the dog, but
According to the LA Times, the number of applications for law school increased because of the likes of LA Law.
Yeah.
But also women's approach to their wardrobe, to their appearance also changed. And that's what led to all the designer, the powerhouse trend.
Yeah.
I do think what you wear does matter. I think if you dress like maybe that's a very controversial view, but I think if I dress smarter, I feel different. And maybe that's just my armor. I don't know if that's for everyone, but for me, I feel like I'm perceived differently, and I feel inside that I have a bit more power per se. But that's not for every industry. I think it really depends on your industry.
I think so too. I mean, I have friends who work in real estate and work in high net worth individuals. They are going to have to do a certain thing. I work in media, so I need to be relatable to the people that I'm working
100%.
with, which are media people, 100%. And they are in jeans and t-shirts.
100%.
So if I'm going to dress in something that's too conservative, they're not going to trust me. Yeah. So I have to be on that level.
And you're going to then create also a barrier between you and the stakeholders that you're trying to get on board.
Absolutely. I think there is much more pressure on women in law firms to dress for the other lawyers in the law firm rather than to dress for the clients. And I find that kind of interesting.
I think that's true. I think I feel confident wearing pink, for example. Pink is seen as feminine, seen as a lot, perhaps in the past people wouldn't wear pink going to work because it's seen as like a weaker colour. you're seen as underestimated
You have two
to have
people
your
here wearing
femininity.
pink.
I wore this on purpose, actually. I was like, I'm going to wear my pink. I'm a lawyer. I'm capable. I'm in a pink suit.
Isn't the point here? Isn't the point that it should be about choice and actually what feels right for you as an individual versus what's an expectation of, let's say, what a lawyer is. It's about, as you say, dressing for your client versus the other lawyers, but also dressing for what makes you feel good and allows you to perform. That's the bit for me.
But men can't do that because it's a suit and a tie, and that's kind of expected for them.
Yeah,
when I first started at Tamimi, it was back in the days when we worked Sunday to Thursday. I started Bad Tie Thursday.
What's Bad Tie Thursday?
I said to all the men, like, you guys don't get to dress up very much. You don't get to like have some fun here. So every Thursday, I want to see you the ugliest time.
I love
you
that.
can
I
find.
literally love
I
that.
want to see the worst. And there was about 20, 25 men that would come in. They'd come in.
They're like, someone told me.
And I'd be like, that's hideous.
You win.
But they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it broke down barriers between people on teams. People like the banking team started talking to the litigation team about bad ties.
Yeah.
So we created a bit of a...
You did great. You did a better job than HR, didn't you?
How to get people to talk to each other in a firm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, though, that you make about kind of men having to wear a suit and tie, because I think that's almost kind of a point a little bit around imbalance, because actually men just have to come to work in a suit and tie and no one is going to look at them any differently, no one's going to respect them any less. You know, they have that automatic respect no matter what they wear. Whereas when you dig into the psychology of men, actually, and we do work in a largely male-dominated environment and we have to be respected in that environment. And when you look into the psychology, there's a really narrow window, actually, where women are respected by men in terms of what they wear. It's like, if you are too attractive, you are immediately sexualized rather than respected. Yeah. But if you are not attractive enough, then you're immediately, you're diminished and you're not respected at all for that reason. So you've got this kind of really narrow band that you're supposed to sit in order to be respected, which is just ridiculous, really.
So it is a very powerful positioning tool for women, how they dress, how they groom themselves, their overall appearance.
I'd say so. I think
I
so.
would agree with that. Absolutely, I would.
Yeah.
I think any attempts that you make to break that down, you're choosing a new battle to take on yourself. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but you are choosing a new battle outside of, the intellectual battle that we have every day. You have a new battle.
I definitely dress for my day, but I'm also conscious of, like what you said before about being too sexualized, too attractive, too unattractive. So I think, like, for me, when I know that I'm meeting certain male clients, I definitely wouldn't be wearing my pink dress. I'd feel more comfortable doing that with women than I would with a man.
So let me look at some stats. So 68% of equity partners globally are men, and closer to home in Dubai, there's 75 international law firms, only 2 female managing partners.
Pinsent has one.
Pinsent has one leading the way, and also a global
Yes,
female
we
managing
do.
partner. And the other lady here is Sheila Shadman at Jones Day. So, there's progression, but it's moving at a glacial pace.
Is that
isn't it?
progress?
There's definitely work to be done, but I find, I don't know if you find this at Pinsent, I feel like the trainees coming through now is more that over 50%. It's just taking a while. Like Rita, who is my manager, she's the head of international litigation. She was saying only a few years ago she couldn't find any good female talent. It was just her and a team of men in litigators. And now the team is more than half women. We've kind of taken over. So I think perhaps it is just a bit of time that it's taking people to come through, for people to get respected in the region, as we've been discussing. And hopefully eventually that'll go through to partnership.
But the issue is that drop off.
No, I'm not saying it's a good thing.
It's the mid-career drop off that's always
Yeah.
problematic for women. So
Yeah.
we come in, we're enthusiastic. There's more than 50, and I've been seeing more than 50% of junior lawyers for quite a long time. I've been a lawyer for
that's
32
true.
years. Been saying it for quite a lot of those 32 years that there's more women coming in.
Yeah.
But we get that slump,
I know.
and whether it's going off to focus on family or actually I don't particularly want to be a lawyer. I'm not finding it a long-term
Enjoyable.
career. It's not enjoyable for
Yeah.
me. I want to do something else, and they go off and they start businesses and they go and they do different things.
Yeah,
And so you get that, and then
yeah.
the end
true.
result is there's not enough of us at the finish line.
Is that because the opportunities are not coming through, though?
I mean, I've certainly worked in firms where I have been fairly certain that I'm not going to be put forward for partnership or senior leadership roles. And so my inclination has been to leave, because I'm looking up and I'm going, there's no room for me up there. I'm not going to fit. Either I'm not going to fit what they want, or, you know,
Do I want to fit?
and do I want to become what that is? I'm not sure about that. And so I did move somewhere else.
I think that's the problem. I think you've literally like hit it on, like, nail on the head, in the sense that it's that mid-level piece in the run up to the partnership.
Yes.
You know, I did it myself. You know, I moved to the region. I was an associate, got quickly moved up to senior associate, was with the firm for a few years before I went in-house as GC for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then it's only now that I've gone back in as partner.
Yeah.
So I definitely felt that myself. It was like looking around, you know, do I want to do this for the next few years?
Yeah.
And for me, the answer was no at that point in time.
At that point.
Now, coming back into the partnership, you know, to your question, obviously I can only talk about my experience, right? And my experience is at Pinsent. We are led by, as you rightly said, a female managing partner globally, but also in the region. And I think as a result of that, as a female partner, I feel that influence. And actually, the opportunities that I'm given, the initiatives that I'm asked to join, I really do feel like I am willed to succeed. And so I do feel that there is change, particularly at Pinsent, but I can't talk about that for other firms. But I know I think from a law firm and a legal perspective, it's something we have to keep talking about.
I agree.
And we have to figure out what that solution is for that mid-level.
For me, I don't see like the barriers at Tamimi to partnership. I feel like
That's great.
I can see myself, you know, inshallah, eventually progressing. But one point that perhaps we should mention is I feel like as soon as you have children, it just totally shifts your perception of everything. And for me, like, I've always been so driven, like, I want to work all hours. That's just been my nature since, you know, birth. and joining as a junior lawyer, and I've just had a baby in February, and now have a 9-month-old, and I'm gone back into private practice. And I think it just definitely shifts your perceptions of everything. Like, that's not important anymore, and now your child is. And for me, I would never quit work. I would always want to continue and develop and progress, but I can totally understand why some women get to this point and they think, look, do I want to be a partner? Do I want to take on all these extra responsibilities? Which is so weird, because prior to having a baby, I was always like, I just don't understand why anyone would ever quit their job to go and be a stay-at-home mum. Not there's anything wrong with it, but for me, it was never be on my radar. But now I can understand why some women just feel, you know, that it's not for them anymore. The corporate environment just isn't serving them.
So that comes back to my point, though. I think we need to change that in the sense that we need to make sure that firms have flexible working, and actually you can work around your child's schedule. So I've got a lady in my team, incredible lady, just new, been with us 6 months. She has a 10-year-old at home, and you know, there's reasons why, but sometimes she needs to be home when her daughter gets home. That is fine. You can leave the office early, be there when your child lands at home, you know, from the school bus. But there is an expectation, or my expectation on her in terms of teamwork is just get the job done.
I think I'm very fortunate in my current role that I have, like, I work for a lady. The team is full of ladies that kind of get it.
Did you worry about your job at all? Did you worry about the perception from the firm that you're now going to come in as a mother? Is your focus on your work? Is it possible to focus 100% on your work?
I honestly don't think I had like the worry. I definitely had like the mum guilt going back, which I think is generally a universal experience that from speaking with people never goes away. Like I had a lot of anxiety, honestly, going back to my job, having been in-house at Emirates MBD for a while, just thinking like if the hours are going to be longer. I hadn't planned in my head, like now, for example, I will leave, I will do bedtime, then I'll log back on and it's fine. But the apprehension, I think just the fear of the unknown before you get back is quite strong. Now I have mum guilt. You have mum guilt for leaving. You have mum guilt for working. You have mum guilt if you don't work. I have career guilt. It's just a constant like battle, like just trying to balance everything. So yeah, I don't think my ambition or anything like that has changed. I'm still on exactly how I was before. It's just my day might be structured slightly different now. And
it's interesting that what you say about having children kind of changed you in terms of now you're not just kind of wanting to power through all the hours and work all the hours in the day. I think it's interesting because it's not actually just, I mean, it obviously happened to you as a result of having a child, but actually when you look at the sort of juniors coming through, nothing to do with having children, they actually don't want to be on the partnership track either. They don't want to, when you look at the Gen Z stats, I spent a lot of time working with Gen Z and working with businesses who are hiring Gen Z, and actually just none of them want that. They don't want all of that really long partnership track. They don't want those really long hours giving their souls to work anymore.
They want work-life balance.
Yeah, they want that. And actually there's this real kind of focus now on your, you know, your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. And actually they'd rather split their day between a day job and a side hustle actually than give their whole lives to one job. So it's really interesting that I think historically it has been kind of perhaps having children that's changed that now, but that is actually now reflected in a much wider demographic, which is the whole junior generation coming through. So I think,
do you think that there's a difference between like male and female on that, or is it both genders?
It's both genders actually.
Maybe there's something that leadership we have to do in terms of, I genuinely love my job. Yeah. I don't know, like, and I kind of get the impression that you love your job as well. Like you love your, you know, I get that impression. So maybe we need to do more in terms of bringing, like, sharing the fun in what we do. And, you know, I don't know how we do that, but
because there's a lot of data around how awful being in the law is. There's a lot of data around the mental health and, you know, how many people are suffering with stress, you know, all of those, you know, really horrible stories, but there's not a lot of really positive success stories. So it's kind of an imbalance really, because I think again the media focuses on the negative and all of the horror stories, which actually is putting people off coming into the profession full stop, and let alone kind of getting up into those senior ranks. So I do think there needs to be more focus on those things, which I try and do a bit of in my social media, but actually, you know, those stories don't get told as much as the negative stories.
I guess positive stories don't sell, do they? It's more interesting to have a happy lawyer. Maybe that's what we can do. Start a new group. Happy lawyers.
I am swiftly moving on to LinkedIn. Chrissie's territory. You are the most active out of all of us. You are on 46,000 followers.
Amazing.
that is incredible.
No. You've got 1,000 followers in the last month alone.
Did I?
Yeah. I've been stalking you.
Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. That's really impressive.
Yeah, LinkedIn was not my original platform. My original platform was YouTube, actually. In 2017, I set up a YouTube channel called Law and Broader when I just qualified as a lawyer about my journey into law, which was quite convoluted, which, you know, I wanted to kind of tell my story. And because I wasn't from a kind of conventional law background, had terrible A-levels, state school, home educated, all sorts of kind of weird and wonderful things. And when I was trying to break into law, I felt very much that I was an outsider. You know, everybody I spoke to had, you know, traditional route parents were lawyers, you know, private school, all these things that I didn't have. And I didn't really see any sort of role models like me in the industry. And every time I tried to get work experience, you know, people politely said, you know, that's very nice, but, you know, don't go anywhere near it with these A-levels, like just go and do something else. And yeah, I mean, it was not easy to get in, but I did fight my way in eventually, got a training contract at a top 20 law firm and wanted to tell that story. So so I did on YouTube, and that's where I started in 2000. Then I kind of moved into the other platform. But LinkedIn, yeah, I've been kind of posting regularly there for sort of 7 years.
Well, when I comment on your post, I get about 13 to 14,000 impressions.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is good intel. I think you should be my PR manager. I don't know any of this. Yeah, there is this kind of LinkedIn influencer list. I don't know if you've seen it. So yeah, and I am the most followed lawyer on it in the indie list, which is the non-traditional firm list. I think I'm second on the main list. So yeah, but that is a long time of doing that. That didn't happen in like a year or 2 years. So that has been like long-term consistency on the platform.
What is the impact of that? Do you get work from that? Do you get any speaking opportunities?
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, so I do generate leads from it. Directly from posts, but also more from just people kind of seeing me on a regular basis and having a headline which says this is what I do. Yes. Then it might not immediately generate a lead from a post, but actually just constantly showing up and, you know, my headline constantly being there in people's faces reminds them that when they do have somebody who needs a clinical negligence lawyer, they go, oh, I know the one, that, you know, she's on LinkedIn. So it does kind of happen through osmosis. I would say actually I have more lead gen directly gen on TikTok, because I have 80,000 followers on TikTok.
Wow.
And that's
She's got
bigger.
17 and a half on Instagram.
And 17 and a half. Yeah. But I would say, but my Instagram's just more fun, really.
The fun side of law.
It's a mix. Yeah, it's more like law and lifestyle, I would say.
What do you talk about? Like, is it work or cases?
Mixture of things, real mixture of things. So a mixture of, yes, my day job in terms of like what case I'm running, and if I've got cases that are in the media and what I'm doing, I'll always talk about those cases, obviously, and the sorts of things that I see and deal with. I also talk about a lot of legal market insight, a lot of stats, a lot of what's going on, things that I've experienced, things that I'm seeing. So I also have a consulting business where I work with law firms, legal teams, and some legal tech companies as well on strategy. So I also comment on what I'm seeing happening in the market as well and why that's happening. So it's kind of a combination of sort of like thought leadership, market insight, and sort of day-to-day insight from life, and some personal musings occasionally as well. I've got a few anecdotes. Yeah, look, I think more so now. I think the algorithm's kind of moved more towards kind of anecdotal life stories now. When I first started, it was much more education, data, thought leadership, and that's where I got all of my information from about the industry. And now when I go on it, I see a lot of personal stories, which is fine. But I personally get a lot of those from the other platforms. LinkedIn has always been my education data platform, and I see that less and less at the moment than I used to.
Would you recommend lawyers use LinkedIn to
100%.
promote their careers? Really?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's the easiest way to get in front of clients on a mass scale now. Absolutely. It doesn't cost anything, and you can get millions of impressions on reach. I know you're really active on LinkedIn as well.
Not as much as I used to be. I used to be when I was at Tamimi. I was on there at least once a week. I would put up something. Just to keep my profile visible. So when people say, "Oh, Fiona, like she's the media lawyer," that's because of that. Because I did that.
You're sitting on 8,300 followers.
Yeah, I
so
think
you're not
it's
doing
gone up.
too bad
Actually,
at all.
8,700. I'm just kidding. I don't know how many. I know it's around 8,000. Yeah, I have a lot of people, and I'm nowhere near your leg. I bow. I honestly bow. I find I don't have as much time for it on as general counsel, and I also don't feel like I have as much to say, which I think is kind of sad because I probably do have as much to say. But when you're in private practice, you're kind of more involved in like, as you were saying, the educational stuff, the case that's come out, the new law that's coming out, the regulations that have come by, what they told you when you went to the briefing last week. All of that stuff I always found that was really, it was, people enjoyed it, people liked it. I got a lot of hits on that. But when I started more personal stories, that's when my real interaction started. It ramped right up.
Marie, you became a partner with 6,000 followers in comparison to Queen Chrissie over here. but no, you've become a partner without using LinkedIn.
But I do agree, though, that it's a really good tool for lawyers, and I think it's really important to build your own personal brand.
Absolutely.
And I think it actually stands outside of the law firm.
Yes.
My firm probably won't like me to say that, but I think it's about building out your own brand. It is really important.
I think you're notable on LinkedIn. Oh, really? I always read your posts. They always come up. Yeah, I think you've got a great online presence.
So obviously I'm in financial regulation, so I think it's important to be that thought leader.
Yep.
I haven't perhaps crossed over into the more personal stories piece, but I do notice that when I do post something a little bit more, my highs and lows of the week or something a little bit more personable, it really does get a lot of interest. I think for me, what's holding me back is around how much do I want to share? I guess for me, it's about what is my message? Who am I trying to reach, right?
I think it also depends on kind of what your goals are. And I think it is sort of different potentially from kind of if you're kind of climbing the ladder than if you're a business owner, because I now have my own practice and I am business development, I am marketing, like it is essential that I generate leads. I have to, I must. And social media is my biggest source of leads, so I can't afford not to. For me, it's business critical that I show up on social media. I do get a lot of referrals through word of mouth and things like that, but it is my marketing for my whole firm, which is my business. So I kind of have to. And I think it's also about where your clients are, who are you trying to speak to? Because I am B2C, because I'm doing medical negligence work, I'm actually speaking to consumers. Those are my clients. So actually that's why I get a lot of fruitful through TikTok, actually. That's why I get so many leads through that, because I'm aiming at that kind of market. I do the consulting business I have is more B2B, and actually that naturally comes more through LinkedIn, and my lead gen for my litigation business comes more through TikTok.
But how much time do you dedicate to social media? Yeah, it sounds a lot. There
LinkedIn,
is an audience on TikTok.
Yeah, massive. Yeah,
But I guess
but for a certain type, it's for a certain type of work. So I wouldn't tell everyone. In fact, I would tell most lawyers not to bother with TikTok. If you're doing B2B, it's you've got to be smart with your time. And actually, if that's not where your audience is, but it is where my audience is for the medical negligence business. So I dedicate a lot of time to that.
Depends on practice area as well. Like litigation and arbitration, it's all confidential, and often our clients don't want us writing that we've just won in a dispute or that we've lost in a dispute.
Charlotte,
but it's
are you
got
trying
this really
to justify
unique...
your 1,661 followers?
Sorry, guys.
I didn't know it was a competition.
I'm ashamed though. Yeah, but I need to get more active.
You're doing incredibly well. Like it doesn't matter. Like in your career, it doesn't.
It does take a while. But I do say to the young lawyers that it's a really important thing to start to build up, to build those connections. I'm going to go, if you apply for a job with me, I'm going to your LinkedIn and I'm going to see who you know.
That's super interesting, actually.
I want to know how connected you are to my industry, because people will come in and say, yes, I'm in industry. But if you don't know
anyone,
the industry, then I know you're not really an industry lawyer. You're dabbling, you're playing around the edges.
That's so interesting.
Fiona, they can make up their profile there. Most people do.
But you can't make up who you link
your
to.
connections, so your followers. You can't.
Some people connect with everyone though. They'll add anyone that they think of, which is
but you need to know who they are in order to get to that point.
If I see you're connected to someone that I know in the industry, I just ring them. I just ring them. I ring them. And we have to understand now that putting your referees on a CV, that's ancient history. It is ancient history. I'm going to look at your LinkedIn. I'm going to see who you know, and I'm just going to call them. And people call me all the time. I'm not a referee, but Fiona, do you know this person? Yes, I do.
But then that comes back to working in the region, right?
Yes, it does.
It is so relationship driven.
Very much so.
And so this comes back to the branding piece. It's not necessarily about where you work, it's who you are.
Exactly.
It's your personal brand. So that's quite important. Yeah.
Absolutely agree.
But that scares me that you're picking up the phone. Next time I apply for a job with you.
So I want to talk about Johnny Depp's lawyer, Camille Vasquez. Before the whole Johnny Depp's trial, she was already winning cases, right? But this trial is what changed everything for her. So she did brilliantly. She was on the world stage and she got promoted to partner literally overnight.
From associate to partner, wasn't it?
Yeah, very public promotion. I mean, she didn't work harder on that case, but her value just went up, right? Her visibility skyrocketed. Her book of business exploded. Clients started requesting her by name. Her rates went up. The whole practice benefited. So is this a reminder that it's not about working hard or being even competent? It's about your marketing value. And this is where your whole visibility, your positioning, how you position yourself as a lawyer, as a female.
But I think we need to focus on the competence piece. You do need to be competent. Yeah. So I think we shouldn't underestimate the fact that she was damn good at what she did. Yeah. And so therefore she earned every part of that promotion because she was on the world stage. Now, that law firm actually was very good in the sense that they identified her talent and they put her forward to present in court the way that she did. And she handled it like a pro. So wasn't that a promotion that she earned? And yes, she got the work and the business through, but isn't that what partnership is? That you develop your brand, you win new clients, and therefore you make partner because you're part of the business. So yes, it is about your marketing and your presentation, which comes back to personal brand, but it's also about being a competent business professional in whatever you do.
I do think that there is the lawyer who is the dynamo, who is the scene, who is the brand, the marketing is very good at, very visible, very verbal.
The BD partner.
Yeah. And then there are the machines who sit behind closed doors and just
Do the work.
do the work. And I think both of them have a place in law firms, and I think both of them should get respect in law firms. They're very different operatives, and both probably very happy with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But there was always someone in a law firm that you just knew. You'd hand the work over and you'd go, safe hands.
Yeah. But I think that's changing with AI. I think as a law firm, I mean, we've just spent like 4 days in Barcelona at our partners conference talking about the future of law and the future of work. And I think as a lawyer, you can no longer just be good behind the desk, but equally you cannot just be your BD partner. No. You have to be able to bridge that gap between technology, where the industry is going, depending on, you know, who your clients are, and your ability to bring that competence. Because the type of work that lawyers will be doing going forward in the future is going to change. Of course it is. We have to acknowledge that, and therefore our skill sets have to change to meet the new need. And so you need competence with that. And yes, you will need to be good at marketing and branding, because the world is different.
Are women more naturally better at BD marketing and building their book of business?
I think we are really, really good at that.
But are we better?
Yes. sorry, man, I love you, but no, I think we're better at it.
I think we're different, because I think men do loads of great business on the golf course, and they have, you know, they actually are good in their own way. I think we do it in a different way. I think we can be equally good, and in some cases better, but I think it's just we do it very differently, I think. And I think the way we build relationships is quite different. The way we connect
I think
with people is
the connection
very
and the
different.
relationships were very, very good at that. And I mean, there's always going to be the client that wants to be taken for a round of golf or wants to go out for the nice dinner. And, you know, maybe I'm not so good at that bit, but forming relationships, remembering their kids' names.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
it's a different level. It's an emotional level, isn't it?
It's a little bit more of an emotional thing.
Where did you develop your skills for BD marketing? Because it's not taught at law school.
No, it's not. I think it's, and this is super cheesy, but I think it's about doing what's comfortable for you. So for me, it's just like, I really enjoy meeting people. Yeah. And actually, you know, if I'm meeting someone, I'm not thinking BD, I'm actually thinking about that relationship. So I think we've moved away from like that rainmaker partner model, and actually we're moving, especially here in the region, it's all about relationships. It's all about activating. So actually, you know, I might not be doing business with you, but I might know someone who actually is really good, and, you know, vice versa. It's about connecting, building that network. So I don't know if it's taught.
I think it's so obvious when people go to BD events and they're there to meet clients and to take the business cards. I just find it so cringy. I just think, like, for me, if I was in-house, I would never want to instruct someone just because of like that formal weird interaction. I'd want to know, well, I speak when I'm in-house, because I mean, having just been at Emirates MBD, you know people, you trust them, you've had a long relationship. I don't think this like surface level BD relationship really works anymore. In my personal opinion.
I went from law firms to general counsel. Yeah. And there were people that wouldn't speak to me at functions, who suddenly were dropping me messages and getting my phone number and little, hi, it's been an age. I'm like, it was the transparency of the business development that I found most offensive. Yeah. Like, they couldn't even come and write and say, hi Fiona, look, we've never really spoken much before, but we would really love to do some work with you. Yeah. Okay, I'll take the honesty. But this whole, you know,
let's catch up for coffee.
It's been an age, you know. And you know, some of the lawyers who like stab me in the neck. Suddenly are going like, oh well, we'd really love to chat, you know, and here's a brochure for you. Here's my QR code. I found it really offensive.
So anyone who is struggling with this area of growing their book of business, would you recommend that they actually develop it with a coach?
Yeah, I think if it doesn't come naturally to you, and it is something that you are struggling to figure out how you go about it, where you go about it, what to say, then absolutely, I think having some kind of one-to-one coaching where, because there are some really good coaches who will really try and understand you and where your strengths are and actually help you place yourself, you know, in, because actually maybe if you don't really love getting out there, to your point earlier, you can write articles, you can start a newsletter, you can start a blog, and actually that might be a better form of BD for you if you don't find you're naturally comfortable in networking environments. So actually working with a coach who might be able to kind of pull out what form of BD is best for you, I think could be really beneficial.
Business development isn't just about getting a client, it's also about retaining the client and making sure that the client stays with you. And I think a lot of people forget that, you know, if someone is ringing their lawyer, they're generally already having a pretty bad day. You know, no one wakes up in the morning going, hope I get to ring my lawyer today. Like, hope there's an enormous problem on my desk that means I need to ring my lawyer. So we're already kind of going, oh, I've got to ring the lawyer because I've got a problem and there's stress and there's just being personable with the lawyer and having a little bit of a relationship with the person really helps enormously. Like there is a personal side to this relationship. And people do forget that.
I think, it's not always transactional,
No,
and
exactly,
actually it
it's
is
not.
about just being and just a normal human being. Don't be, you know, you're not always selling, you know.
No.
You're not always selling.
No, I've had a lot of clients say that who've come through my social media and, you know, they'll ring and be like, oh, I saw this video you did about this. And sometimes it's not even related to law. They'll be like, it was just so relatable. I just knew that I wanted to work with you.
Yes.
And it's really nice because you can, and actually I don't sell. I don't sit there and go, if you've had an accident, it was your fault. If you know,
Call this number.
yeah. No, I never talk about that at all. Actually, now a lot of people don't react very well to kind of having your business imposed upon them. So I think there is a much more subtle way of doing business development that doesn't actually involve just sell.
How important is the actual academic qualification? Now I'm going to refer to Fiona Shackleton here.
Are you going to talk about me?
No, not you.
You could.
Fiona Shackleton is a high-profile divorce lawyer, and she graduated with a third-class law degree, which is the lowest honours classification. But she went on to become the most successful, the most famous. King Charles is one of her clients. So success in law isn't even down to academic qualifications.
I was a terrible student, and I admit it. I was a terrible student because I didn't enjoy the study of law. I really didn't enjoy it.
You didn't enjoy the study of law.
No, I didn't enjoy it. I enjoy being a lawyer. I love being a lawyer. Very, very different being a lawyer than it is studying law. Studying law is quite dry, I think. And I say this to my students. I lecture at Middlesex University, and I say to the students, look, if you're not liking the study, hang in there, because it's incredibly different when you get out there. And one of the things I think is that a lot of the students who struggle with the study of law actually have the right personality and the right brain to be good lawyers. But law school doesn't necessarily bring that out, although I did go to law school a very, very long time ago.
Isn't there some practice areas that are dry, like corporate, I heard, tax, for example, and then dispute resolution is all fun and it's all creative?
Usually.
So that makes a difference, though.
Possibly, yeah, but I think some people are just born to be tax lawyers.
Yeah.
You know,
I think you do need to have you do have to have competence. Like you do need to understand what you're doing. It's not, you know, regulatory stuff. You do have to be able to read the law. Then you need to like take that and interpret it, and you know, add that market interpretation on top.
Absolutely.
So you do, you know, some people, like I hate to say it, just don't get it. You know, I've worked with some trainees that you know, just don't get it, or just don't enjoy it in the same way that other trainees or other lawyers do.
I remember once someone telling me that at law school, you're not there to learn law, you're there to learn how to think like a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so I think if your law school has failed you on that, then, you know, there's not much hope for you. You could maybe learn it in practice, but no one's going to spend the time. And I think that's the.
But I guess the question is that do we think that academic grading is really important nowadays? Perhaps not, but how else are we meant to differentiate? And, you know, you could say outside interests, outside clubs, but if you're coming from a different socioeconomic background, you might not have the opportunities to join those tennis club or, I don't know, rugby or, you know, netball.
I think it's so competitive now just to get a training contract. I remember when I was applying for vacation schemes, there was like 8,000 students for 8,000 applicants for one spot on a vacation scheme, which is a 2-week summer scheme, which is just crazy. Imagine the numbers for training contracts. And it's the same at Tamimi now. They have like a huge England and Wales training contract program, and there's so many applicants just for one spot. So I think like they do need grades to an extent to kind of set the bar, but I definitely think there's some excellent lawyers who haven't got first class degrees, and the benefit of a law firm is that there's so many different departments that the person that might succeed in disputes will not succeed in banking or corporate, and that's the advantage of doing the training contract and having the 6 months in different departments, because you kind of see where your personality might fit, you kind of see where your skills are. For me, for example, I did banking and it wasn't for me, and I just didn't get it. It wasn't like something that was natural. And then I just thought, maybe law's just not for me. Maybe I need to change. This is not how I envisaged my life. I was going to be a banking lawyer. And then I did disputes, and it just kind of made a lot more sense to me. Like, it was just more natural. My skills, drafting, more people skills, managing, organization, it just naturally came to me. Whereas I think, I definitely struggled in other departments. So I think, like you said, some people might just not understand certain things, but it's good because there's opportunities for everyone.
I think it's also, I think you're right. How else do we get through that number of applicants? There has to be a way of kind of filtering through. Just the exam system and the education system as a whole is just less and less representative of what the world of work is like. Exam conditions are now really unrepresentative of what life is like. Giant memory test under time pressure. Who doesn't now have access to anything? Barristers now in court are there with their iPads looking up stuff. There just isn't. And I say this as someone who's a terrible exam taker. So I know that actually my performance in exams is not representative of my performance in my day-to-day life as a lawyer. So I do think it's an unfair way of filtering. And you'd think now, in the age of AI, there would be a better way of actually pulling the right skills out and not just kind of forcing people into these exam conditions. And even the way, education is taught isn't suitable for a lot of people. I'm also neurodivergent, late diagnosed ADHD. School system didn't work well for me, so I didn't have great, academics, but then, have thrived as an entrepreneur running my own practice much more so. So I think there's no easy way of, but you think now with modern technology, there would be better ways of actually figuring out whether people have the right skills to be lawyers rather than just do they perform well in core subjects, which of course, like the law is not a core subject anyway, really. It's actually a combination of so many different things, and you have so many different skills that you need to pull in to be a good lawyer. That is, and A levels in the UK as such, they're used by all firms as this kind of, all encompassing way of testing competence, and actually performance at A level is.
I didn't do well at A levels. I did horribly. I then didn't get a place at uni. Thankfully, I was doing a gap year overseas, like studying. But I didn't do well at A levels at all.
I think attitude is the most important thing. When you see trainees coming through, I think all we ask for is that you work hard, and like, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to get everything right, but just put the effort in. Like, if we need you to help with something, don't log off and go get your nails done and come back, which has happened. Like,
For me, it's about curiosity. I just really want the trainees or my trainee to be curious. And I think if you're curious, then you want more, right? You're kind of like hungry for it. So as a result of that, you work like, I don't know if it's work harder, but you get involved. So for me, it's like curiosity is really important.
Yeah, the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Enthusiasm. Just, I really love it when I can see that they actually want to be there. They actually want to do this job.
And they're interested.
They're interested, and they ask lots of questions, and I can't fabricate that.
Yeah.
I can teach you how to review a contract. I can show you where the law is. I can't make that.
Exactly. So it's the attitude.
It's absolutely. Yeah, it really is.
I am going to ask Charlotte, you are working for the biggest local law firm in Dubai, in the UAE, in
the Middle East, I think.
Especially with local MMRT clients. They like the aggressive lawyer.
Yeah.
And do you sometimes feel that they prefer working with a male lawyer as opposed to a female lawyer? Because naturally and by nature, we are softer, and they like to, really go for the jugular. So sometimes do you feel that you have been sidelined purely because you are a woman?
So in my experience at Tamimi, I don't think so, but I've definitely had the experience at a previous law firm. I was working on a large arbitration, witness proofing a witness for 2 weeks, sat with him on his 100-page witness statement, and the feedback after the hearing was I'll use anonymized names. Bill, fierce leader. Bob, great advocate. Charlotte, real name, belongs on the beach. And whilst I don't disagree that I do belong on the beach, in the circumstances, having worked equally as hard as the men, it was quite a blow. So yeah, I definitely think there can be work to be done for perception and how we are perceived with male clients as a whole. But that's not everyone, you know. I don't think it's definitely not all men. I think some of the best leaders and mentors that I have within our Tamimi at the moment are men, as well as Rita. Just putting it out there. So yeah, it's totally a mix.
Chrissie, on LinkedIn, we are encouraged to share everything about ourselves. So if a female lawyer is talking about her day, I've had to do this, I've had to drop off the kids, I've snuck in a couple of hours of work here, there. If you are a client and you have a high stakes case, do you want to read that? Do you want to know that? Or do you want your lawyer to be 100% focused? So are we shooting ourselves in the foot on the likes of LinkedIn and just oversharing?
Yeah, and I think too, I am very conscious of that because I'm on social media a lot, and it's this balance between I need to be on social media a lot to generate leads to my platform, but I'm on social media talking about being a lawyer. Therefore, I don't want people to think that I am on social media all the time and not being a lawyer. And I've had articles kind of written about, sometimes I've been introduced as an influencer, and I don't like that because I think that makes people think that sounds like a job. It's not. It's me doing marketing for my business, which is very much being a lawyer. And there's anything wrong with being an influencer, but it's not what I am. You know, it's marketing for my business. That's what it is. And that I am always quite conscious. I think because we're in quite a sensitive position as lawyers as well. To your point, that people do think we're supposed to be always on, and people are kind of paying us by the hour. They're expecting, and they don't always know what we're doing in that time. So it's, if you're submitting a big bill for 100 hours and they see you've been on social media a week, well, have you really been doing this? These hours, or have you been? Because I've been seeing you doing that, and I think that does put us in a slightly unique position, as compared to, a business owner who sells products, for example, where if somebody gets the product, that's fine. They don't really mind what the founder is doing as long as the product works. But actually, we are in a services business, so it's definitely tricky, I think.
When you started your social media, when you were a trainee, you said when you were a trainee, how was that perceived by the firm that you were working for?
So I was pretty early on the social media bandwagon. I set up my YouTube channel. My boss, I actually had a great relationship with my immediate boss, my manager. He was brilliant. I don't think he really knew what YouTube was, but I just said I was doing this, and he was like, sounds great, off you go. So I started it, and actually I never got any real pushback from it, but I never got any real support either. I think it was just, and I think it did generate a lot of publicity and a lot of leads for the firm. So I think from that perspective, I won a lot of awards for it, got a lot of articles written, which generated a lot of positive press for the firm. But I think there was always this sort of like slightly shaky balance, I think, around, and actually when I went for promotion early, and some of the feedback I was given was actually you're doing the job of a partner but not of an associate. Actually, what you need to focus on is doing the work. Don't focus on BD. That's not your job. Like, I brought in loads of cases, like millions of pounds worth of business, and they wouldn't look at that because that wasn't criteria for the next round of
That's
it was
actually outrageous.
Yeah, so it was quite interesting actually. So there was at that time, and this was nearly a decade ago, so at that time it was quite a rigid structure in terms of these are the things you need to do to progress, and that's not on this list. I think it was quite an interesting time. Yeah, never got any real pushback, but again, it wasn't something that was like wholly supported, I would say.
Fiona, General Counsel, it's a very intense job. Can a woman do it?
Well, she is.
80 hours a week?
Sometimes, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Emails at midnight?
No, I'm too organised for that. I don't think it's I think it's much less about the hours and much more about the mental strain of juggling so much knowledge across the company, and there's a constant need to engage with people. So you're always on, and you're always being asked, and you're always at the centre of something. And if you're not at the centre of something, then you're arguing with someone else about why you should have been at the centre of something because something's gone wrong. So you're very much on all the time. It's exhausting.
Is burnout very real in GC?
I believe it is, yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. I've been a GC for 4 years now, so I'm not quite at burnout stage. I'm on the slippery slope towards it. I can see it from here. Yeah, I think it's just mentally and emotionally quite exhausting. There's a lot on your shoulders as GC.
We don't have to do any BD. That's a good thing.
I don't have to do any BD, and timesheets are a thing of the past,
Yeah.
which is lovely.
But you do have to still meet people. BD is not always external, right? So I would argue, as general counsel, your internal stakeholders. So that's your constant BD.
Yeah,
it's just not. You're not
Yes.
selling.
I kind of think of it as more of a PR thing, but you're right, it is a BD. I think of it as PR. I'm selling the services of my team to make sure that the business is comfortable coming to you with their problems.
Which is what you want them to.
I have to do that. I need to
You
know.
have to be approachable. You have to have them knocking on the door, and you want them to knock on the door.
I walk around all the time.
Yeah.
Like I walk around.
She's not doing the GC job. She's just walking around.
I know. It's, in Seinfeld, like George got a job and he had the Penske file, right? Yeah, that's me. I walk around with the Penske file. I walk around all the time just to be seen, and so people can go, oh, Fiona, I've got a question for you. Just in case they don't feel comfortable coming to me, I go to them, and I want to be seen as part of the team.
You're part of the business.
I'm part of the business. Absolutely, I am.
As an associate, Charlotte, do you feel under pressure to say yes to every work that comes across your desk?
Yes.
And is it a fear-based no, if you ever do say no?
I think it's more, first of all, you want the experience. So I want to take on as much as I can. Second, I'm always conscious that it's a team effort. So if I don't take it on, someone capacity-wise, if I don't take it on, someone else has to. I think I've definitely conceptualized this a little bit better since having a baby. As I mentioned, I have to have some boundaries because it's just not possible to do everything how I was doing. I think definitely as an associate, you have the pressure and also the consideration of others that you don't want to let other people down. So yeah, that's something that you're always balancing. And I think probably not just an experience as an associate, perhaps as a wider experience. I don't know, perhaps you can.
I struggle actually if someone said no to something, and I know that's not the right answer. And like from a work-life balance point of view, I get that, and I appreciate for Gen Z that might not be the 9 to 5, 5 to 9 piece of work, but I also think it comes down to that attitude, right? To be a lawyer, you have to get that competence, and you have to learn, and you have to sometimes put the grind in.
I think the reality is that if you say no, someone else has to do it, you're impacting others. And it is a bit about the perception as well, because if I keep saying no to work, that's my perception, that's the image of me. I'm not seen as someone who's hardworking, who
is a team player.
Exactly. And I think it negatively impacts you. You don't get put up for promotion. You're not seen as the person that's the forefront of the team, that's leading the way. You're an afterthought. If I don't do something, that falls on someone else to do it. And everyone's slammed. Everyone's got various work streams ongoing at the moment. If I don't pull my weight, it means my colleagues working until the early hours of the morning. And that happens on cases. You'll see someone log off, not look at their emails all night when you've got an urgent deadline. That then means someone else is working until 4 a.m. So it's just kind of...
4 a.m. Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's intense. That's a lot.
Yeah.
On disclosure deadlines. It's...
I have mixed feelings about it, because I think that's right. I certainly had different pressures in different teams that I worked in throughout my career, and actually there were some teams that I didn't feel as much pressure in, and actually those were much healthier teams, and there were teams where I did feel the pressure to say yes to everything, largely because of the management or leader in that particular team. And I think I work a lot with Gen Z, and I actually kind of think they are going to be the sort of rule breaker. I think they're sort of going to break the system, because I think that does lead to toxic working culture, to need to always say yes to everything. I think that is what can lead to burnout, mental health struggles. And I think the fact that Gen Z do have boundaries, and I think, to your point, saying that if you let the rest of, somebody might have to work till 4 a.m. if you leave at a reasonable time, that's definitely an issue with the business. If somebody wants to leave at 6 and that means that somebody else has to work until 2, 3, 4 a.m., that's a problem.
Do we need to hire more people?
Yeah, we need to hire more people. That's, it's not saying if you want to leave at 2 p.m, but if actually somebody wants to leave at a reasonable time and that means that somebody else, that's not a good working system.
more of a litigation specific thing. They're not going to hire more
I think
people.
it's litigation and M&A tends to because a deadline is a deadline.
Exactly.
And you have the peaks
we
and
need, exactly,
ups
and
and
then there'll
downs.
be a bit of a downtime.
Yeah, it's I think on the one hand, if you're going into law, you kind of know that's what you're signing up for, and you shouldn't necessarily expect to leave at 5. But on the other hand, is that kind of the way that lawyers do work like that? Is that kind of embedded, entrenched in an old kind of an old system that we don't really need to work like that anymore.
The system that says that the juniors don't leave until after the partner goes home.
That's definitely changed, though. That's definitely changed.
That was definitely a thing, and I know it's not.
But has it changed, Marie?
100% that's changed. That's 100% changed. Like, I'll look around in our office at like 7 p.m. and it will mainly be the partners that are sat there. Now, that's not an observation because our juniors are not working hard enough. It's because we do what we say we do in terms of we support. I argue like that flexible working. So you don't have to be sat at your desk.
Yes.
For me, you just have to get the job done. But I think coming back to that piece around, if someone says no to something, what does that mean? I think it comes down to attitude. It's my job as a leader to make sure that my team is busy, right? That's the number one goal as a partner, is to make sure that my team has enough work to stay busy and their utilization is at a certain mark. I therefore then have a general idea about what work is coming in and who I'm sharing that work out to.
Yes.
I would expect someone to say no to me if their capacity is past their utilization mark, and or the team it's not fairly distributed amongst the team. So I do not expect my team to work until 4 a.m. in the morning, but I do expect us occasionally to have to work a little bit later or a little bit earlier to meet that client deadline, because we are we are in the service industry.
Yeah.
So
just to clarify, I'm not working for it all the time.
that's late.
That's just a deadline.
I do
Not
send
a
emails
litigator.
at midnight though, because that's the way my brain works.
Yes, at night time I love working at night. I love that. The
Silence.
I feel like I'm in the silence, the dark room with the light over the desk. I feel like I'm in a movie. I'm so busy. I am so busy. But I love that quiet. I love sitting in the office late at night when nobody is there. It's just me at my desk working, and I get so much done. But I'm a night person. I'm not a morning person. I've never been good in mornings. Morning's not my thing. But nighttime I work well. My brain is very focused, and I get stuff done.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm a morning person.
Most people are.
So sometimes I will get up super early to have those 3 hours before 9 a.m. before 9 to get stuff done, and then I'll come into the office and meet the team, and then when I say like daytime working or nighttime working, it's mainly around during the day. It's much more about being approachable,
being available,
having those meetings, face to face discussions, whereas as a lawyer, we still need that downtime to think and do the work.
And get your thoughts in perspective. Particularly if you've had a really, a very busy time at work, and suddenly you look at your inbox and you're like, whoa.
That's out of control.
That's out of control. That was me this morning. Look at going, that's not good. I don't actually know what's in there.
Yeah.
And you just need to have focus time.
Yeah. You need to work through the work.
You work through and one by one attack every problem that's sitting on your desk.
And I think it doesn't matter if you are working kind of late nights, early mornings, as long as you are okay with that, if you are content and it's not putting too much pressure on your mental health, then that's fine. I work longer hours now than I ever did as a business owner when I was in private practice, but I was way more burnt out in private practice because it wasn't actually about the hours. It was about the KPIs and the stress and the deadlines and the targets, which stressed me out more than actually the hours that I was spending in the office. And because I have a different kind of pressure now, but it's a self-induced pressure. It's my own goals I want to work towards, and I'm less stressed even though I'm working more hours.
Fiona, to the young woman starting out with no trust fund, no polished connections, no uncle at the Magic Circle law firm, what's your advice to them?
Well, that was me. No lawyers in the family, no trust fund. I had to work my way through university with one job or two jobs. It was all of this was me. So my advice is keep your head, make your contacts, and remember that they're buying your brain, not your soul, and you'll be okay.
When I was at uni, I remember just sitting in a room of really intelligent people. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, I don't fit in here. I'm never going to be a lawyer. Like, everyone around me is so different to me. Like, it's never going to be something that I'm going to be good at. And he always used to say, but Charlotte, you have the social skills, you have the ability to connect with people, and that's going to take you far. And he was right, because those skills have really helped me advance, like, in my career. So I think don't be afraid of what your strengths are, and don't compare yourself to others, because everyone has a place in law.